All right, this is International Paper Q4 2021 earnings call summary. They actually beat on revenue and missed their profit expectations for the quarter. I have to say that this has been the most frustrating company for me to follow over the 7 years I've been doing this. Um, I've never I've never seen, heard, read a company complain and use the COVID excuse as much as these guys. It is it's very disturbing to hear someone um, use any excuse outside of themselves for any shortcomings. Um, I've thought about this now for day and a half since I started going through this call, and every time I think about it, I get pissed off, and it comes back to the same thing: just how weak someone sounds when they're using something else to excuse their their folly, to excuse their mistakes, to excuse their inability to succeed at something. It's just I really want to see the stats of the companies that they use COVID as an excuse for their earnings, and see what their stock prices do over the next year compared to the companies that obviously are in the same environment, many in the same industry, in the same sector, but don't use as an excuse. Instead, they turn inward and look at what they can do to better their situation and to better their business. Because at the end of the day, your company is scored and evaluated based on your ability to move, change, adapt, and make happen what needs to make happen in any environment. I don't care what's going on. Um, I think this is the third earnings call, or maybe the second earnings call that I've covered for this company, and it astounds me every time they say input cost, input cost, input cost. You mean to tell me the material that you use to make the things that you sell affects your business in such a way that you miss profit expectations? I don't I don't understand how that works. Are you googling material? Are you just buying it? Kind of day to day. I don't understand. Where are your long term contracts? Where are your hedges against these price increases for material? What? And then every single time they're asked about inflation and prices increasing, it's never good. It's never good. They have said that they are raising prices, but they are so afraid to say by how much. They're afraid to say who they're raising prices on. They talk about, well, we're in negotiations. Listen, if you can't say outright, yes, we're raising prices 10, 12, 13, 14%, that means that you can't really raise your prices. That sucks. So that means that all this inflation that's happening, you can't do anything about it. You're hoping and praying that you're going to be able to raise prices on somebody to help cover some of the inflated costs. And I doubt that is going to happen. I doubt that it's going to happen. Um, you know, I, they did beat revenue expectations. Um, Clearly, the demand for their product is, um, of course, it has a ceiling, right? But they're in such a business, packaging boxes. It's needed and will be needed for at least the foreseeable decade, right? And the what do they call it? The pamper material. I forget what you call it, but that's also a paper material that goes inside the Pampers. That's not going anywhere for the foreseeable decade. Things can change, but for the next 10 years, I think we can. bet that most things are going to be packaged using cardboard boxes or some derivative of, and Pampers are still going to be made with some sort of paper material to absorb liquids. So again, they're in a great business. You know, they're in a good space, but just the management of how this is going forward is not great. It's not great, not great at all. Um, I do want to take a look at it. Must be nine. Yeah. So one thing that they did talk about was building a new box plant in Pennsylvania, and how great this is going to be, and how it's going to add to their capacity and their supply. And that sounded great in the earnings call. And then when I came to the earnings presentation to look at the graphic, I see that they already have seven other plants in the same area, and they're just putting one more in that I guess will maybe cover Philadelphia a bit better than what they currently have in New Jersey. So again, it's great that they're building out capacity. It's great that they have all this demand to to fill um, that supply gap, right? I think they're pretty much selling everything that they can make. The problem is they're missing out on money by not being able to fill orders, and then they're paying way too much to have those orders filled. Another thing that has been just discussed over and over and over and over again are the supply constraints. What is it? Supply train? Supply. I can't think of it right now. But supply constraints, again, excused by Omicron. I mean, they actually said Omicron in the earnings call multiple times, over and over again. Matter of fact, they used Omicron more than they used the word COVID, as if the Omicron variant somehow makes something different. I don't know. I don't understand. You know, they talked about the shipping being an issue because, of course, they have a joint venture in Russia for the cellulose fibers that go into the Pampers. And so the shipping lanes, right, with the boats and everything, from my understanding, are being held up. And at some point, regardless of what environment we're in, regardless of what issues are involved with anything, management still has the responsibility to not only foresee this, but have something in place to a workaround, something, right? And I mean, obviously they are shipping boxes. Obviously they are growing revenue, so they are working around kind of what's going on, but they're doing it at the cost of margin, which is killing profits. Period. They were asked about the issue with Russia and what may happen with any sort of um, um, government activities, for lack of a better word, stopping any sort of shipments from Russia because, again, they are in business with a Russian company to supply those cellulose fibers not only to China, Russia, I imagine, and also Europe as well. And they basically said, well, we don't think anything is going to happen. And honestly, I don't think anything will happen either. But um, there is obviously Mr. Market that is not necessarily going to understand that. And if something were to happen with Russia, if there were some sort of government regulation concerning Russian money, concerning Russian goods, then people are going to start looking for, okay, what companies are what companies have business in Russia? What companies are doing business with Russian companies? What companies have products coming from Russia or going to Russia, and they're going to discount the stock price? The other thing I want to say is that as long as the management continues to excuse their um, their lack of execution on COVID, I think their stock price is going to continue to just stay where it is, you know. And with that said, I have to say, like I said, they did beat revenue. They missed on profit, and the stock price has gone absolutely nowhere. Over the last month, it fell something like 4%. Over the last week or so, it hasn't really done anything. And you know, I can't imagine. You know, so they said that 2023 is the date that they're saying that all this stuff is going to work itself out. 2023. They're going to have figured out somehow transportation, even though they didn't say anything about what they can possibly foresee to change any of that. I can't imagine what will change. They talked about labor being an issue. I did Google international paper and labor when I did my last valuation of the company, and I didn't find anything substantial. However, I did find a YouTube video from a young man who traveled from Florida to Texas to work in an international paper warehouse in Garland, Texas, I believe. And he said that it was, you know, horrible conditions, that they were very short staffed. He was being asked to work a lot of overtime, and basically said in the YouTube video publicly, you know, if you're looking for a job, don't come here. You're better off at Amazon or somewhere else. And that's an issue. You know, I don't know how prevalent that is amongst all of the various warehouses and distribution centers and manufacturing places that International Paper owns. But when they're saying in their earnings call that we're having labor issues, that makes you wonder, how bad are those labor issues? And are those labor issues simply because people are sitting on so much cash that they don't need to work, or is it that they don't want to work for you? Right? Um, Again, 2023 is the date that they're saying, you know, please just bear with us. 2023, this will all be better. But they're not saying what they're doing to make it better at all. Nothing. 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 They're just hoping and praying that somehow labor and transportation issues are going to just, I don't know, stop being issues, I guess. So I'm going to definitely evaluate this company again, since we do have a new 10K and 10Q to go through. It usually takes a week or more to get those documents, but I'll definitely do that. And again, you know, I'll just look at you know, possible bankruptcy scenarios. Definitely look at stock price valuation. Going to look at technical analysis, and I want to go back and look at our transactional history with this particular stock, because um, as frustrated as I am with management and with the earnings calls, I think that this particular stock has been fairly good to us. You know, so anyway, I'll talk about all that at a later date. But that's it. This International Paper Q4 2021.